Hi and welcome to Cheekyricho Cooking's Chocolate Brownies. This is a recipe request for Holly. I hope you enjoy this recipe, Holly, and thank you very much for asking. The first thing that we're going to do is get our chocolate chips. Now we're not going to melt all of our chocolate chips because we want to just fold a couple of them, probably that many, through our finished mix. So just tip our chocolate chips in there, keep that to one side for folding in later, and our butter. And we're just going to melt that. You can do it in the microwave or you can do it in a double boiler if you like. Just do it gently and stir it because the chocolate will actually hold its shape in the microwave and you are in danger of overheating it. So into the microwave, 30-second increments, and just stir it in between to make sure all that chocolate and butter is melted. Okay, after only 45 seconds, it's really quite melted now. Those few little chunks will soften into the mix as it stands because the butter is hotter than the chocolate and it'll actually mix in quite well. Just put that to one side. We have an 8-inch or 20-centimeter square cake pan that has been greased and lined with baking paper. This mixture is not going to stick, but the baking paper is going to make it a lot easier to get out of the pan. Okay, just to a different bowl, we add our eggs and our brown sugar, tip in our pure vanilla extract. Always gives it a lovely flavour. And we're going to mix this up until it's well combined. You aren't going to be able to dissolve the sugar unless you mix it for a very long time. But we just want it well incorporated just while our chocolate and butter is cooling. We don't want to pour this straight into it, otherwise you'll end up with scrambled caramel eggs. Now we just pour our chocolate and our egg and brown sugar mixture in together. It's not too warm now, and mix it all together. It'll incorporate very easily. We're using room temperature eggs so that the butter and the chocolate don't freeze up, don't solidify, and we're just going to mix that all around. Okay, I've also got the oven preheating at 180 degrees Celsius, and we are just going to sift our remaining ingredients, which are half a teaspoon of salt, unsweetened cocoa powder, and some self-raising flour. You can do this separately if you like, there's no real need to. It's going to be folded through now. You don't want to bash any air into it. And the little bit of rising agent in that self-raising flour will just give you enough lift so that they're not too dense and like mud cake. Now we're just going to fold this through now so it's well incorporated. You can throw a little handful of leftover chocolate chips in now, and they're just going to give a little chocolate fudgy sort of texture when these have cooled. And I prefer it actually then when they're just a little bit warm, just before they get to room temperature, with a nice cold glass of milk. So you don't want to overbeat this, you just want to get those ingredients mixed up and there's no real lumps except for the little chocolate chips that you've put in there. Don't use a hand mixer or a whisk for this because you'll end up making it a lot lighter, almost like a cake-like consistency. So you see what you've got there? And we're just going to pour that straight into our pan. Bake it for about 25 minutes. Now it'll have a little sort of shiny, crusty top on it. You don't want your brownie to be really quite dry. You need to still be a little sort of, I don't know, like almost like a fudge-like consistency. Get our batter in the pan, spread it out. It should still be a tiny bit gooey in the center because it'll actually keep cooking when you take it out. So if you put a skewer into the center, be mindful that you could actually hit a chocolate chip and that'll give you a bit of a false reading. And it should be sort of sticking to the toothpick or your skewer just a tiny bit, sort of like wet crumbs if you like. Okay, right, into the oven we go. And we're going to cut this in quite small slices because it's really a very, very rich mix. Okay, into the oven we go. Okay, after 25 minutes at 180 degrees, I'm just going to stick a skewer in the center, and you can still see it's a little bit gooey. If you're fearful that you've hit so it's just got a few little bits of gooey bits stuck on the side of it. You see that? It sort of balls up, a little bit springy on the edges and a little bit soft in the middle. Now just let it cool for about 10 minutes in the tin, and then we're going to pull it out by lifting the paper up, which will make it a lot easier to get it out. If you turn it over, it'll crack all the top of it. Okay, now we're just going to lift it out of the tin very, very carefully because it's really quite delicate, and just put it there to cool. And we're going to cut it when it's just before it gets to room temperature. You still want a little bit of warmth there, so it's sort of quite chewy and gooey when you cut it. Now you can dust this with a combination of cocoa and icing sugar if you want to, or powdered sugar, but I'm just going to show you what it looks like inside. So a sharp knife, you can see it's sort of sticking to the side of the knife. Might wipe that off actually between swipes, otherwise it'll make it mucky on top. It's really quite gooey. Wipe that off in between each swipe because it'll make it messy on top. Now Richo likes the crispier bits on the outer edge, but me, I'm a fan of that piece there. You see how dense and gooey that is. It's really almost wet. The chocolate's just sort of balled up as you're bringing in the knife out. That's gorgeous. Gooey, wet, sticky, sweet, delightful. Thanks for watching.